I decided to make videos this Halloween and record the local kids trick-or-treating and venture around my city finding new things to record. I'm hoping to edit all the footage together and begin a YouTube channel of life in my town. Everything went the opposite direction I expected. My camera battery wasn't charging and it would shut off after 10 seconds of recording. I hadn't used my camera in a few years and the battery had completely died out from sitting in my dresser without being used. I figured I would go to a local Halloween party instead, that some schoolmates had invited me to a few days back. I looked through my closet in search of the same costume I wore last year. I had dressed up as the Grinch and made my own costume using old clothes. It came out pretty good and didn't cost me a dime. I found the costume in the corner of my closet in a plastic bag. I pulled it out and noticed it was a bit tight on me now since I had one too many of the dollar pizza slices from the vendor outside my school. The pizza is absolutely delicious. It's a homemade oven cooked pizza with tons of pepperoni on it, and it only cost $1 a slice. I usually buy 2 slices and eat them on my way home before my younger siblings see me with them and ask for a piece. I had just gotten my driver's license, so I was able to drive over to the Halloween party myself. I had texted my 2 friends, Mike and Lawrence, and told them I would pick them up in 15 minutes. To be ready outside, as I forgot to charge my phone after school and it was about to die. I headed down the dirt road out front my house. I live in the countryside, so only the main larger roads are paved. I put my windshield wipers on since the dust from my road had built up a thick layer of dirt since I hadn't drove my car in over 2 weeks. Gas is getting super expensive and I can barely afford my car payments with the after-school job I have helping neighbors with their farms. I finally arrived and Mike and Lawrence were both waiting for me at Mike's house. Lawrence had jogged down the road to Mike's and made the pickup quick and easy. Mike was dressed in all black. As I asked him, "What are you supposed to be?" He replied, "I'm the Night Stalker," as I laughed since he made up some dumb joke about not having a proper costume on. We headed down to the party where we met up with a few girls we knew from school. We hung out for a while listening to some music as more and more people slowly showed up. It had been 2 hours since we've been here and the music is starting to hurt my ears from how loud it is. I asked Mike and Lawrence along with the 2 girls if they wanted to go explore the cemetery in front of our school, that a few friends had said you could hear creepy noises on Halloween coming from the cemetery. The girls asked if I was crazy. Why would I want to get scared like that? As her friend said, "Come on, Becky, let's go. You're not scared of a little ghost, are you?" We all laughed and decided to check it out. If worse comes to worst, we just drive off and I'll take them all back home safely. We left the Halloween party, stepping over the scary pumpkins carved on the porch. It was only a 5-minute drive to our school where the cemetery is located across the world. We all squeezed into my small 2-door car and drove off as we could see more cars showing up for the Halloween party. A few minutes went by and we arrived to the front of our school. There were a few other cars parked here and thought other schoolmates might be in the area since they all want to hear the scary noises coming from the cemetery on Halloween. I parked my car as we all exited one by one. We all stood there silently staring into the cemetery, but could hear nothing but our own breathing and the cars passing down the road. Lawrence dared me. I wouldn't go in the cemetery, that I was too scared. Attempting to look cool in front of the girls, I said, "You bet, I'm not scared of nothing," as I began climbing up the front fence and hopped over inside the cemetery. I dared my 2 other friends to hop over, but only Lawrence had the courage to come in. My friend Mike said no way he's going in, that he would stay by the car with the 2 girls. Me and Lawrence decided to walk towards the back end of the cemetery to prove there is nothing to be afraid of. The cemetery is dark, with your occasional dimly lit solar light on the floor someone places near their deceased family member's tombstone. As we walked further into the cemetery, I looked back and could no longer see my car and friends. The trees had blocked the view, along with several large tombstones stood in the way. I could see the end of the cemetery up ahead, when I heard laughing to our left. I freaked out and grabbed Lawrence by the arm and said, "Dude, look," as a man standing within 40 feet wearing a black gown stood there, holding a large dog by the leash. I freaked out and said, "What the hell are you doing, man?" shouting at the man standing there with the dog. He slowly walked out of view with his dog as I began to see other people standing in a circle doing some sort of ritual. They all looked in our direction and began walking towards us. I told my friend Lawrence, "Run, man, run!" as we jumped over the tombstones, running back as fast as we could to the safety of my car. I looked back and could see the man with the dog giving chase behind us, jumping over tombstones as he held onto his dog's leash. His dog began barking behind us, which I could feel the sensation of already being taken down by the large dog. I kept running, and as I could see my friends in the distance, they began shouting, "What's happening?" As I said, "Get in the car, quick!" Me and Lawrence jumped over the front fence, landing on the sidewalk as the two girls were already sitting in the back seat alongside Mike. Lawrence got in the passenger seat as I jumped in the driver's seat. I quickly turned the car on and sped away as fast as I could. As we left, I could see the man still coming down the cemetery with his dog. We made it back to the party 5 minutes away as we explained to our friends what happened in the cemetery. Mike began laughing as I told him, "What the hell are you laughing about?" He said, "I told you not to go in there. It's Halloween. There's no candy in the cemetery." I'll start off by saying, Halloween isn't the same it used to be when I was growing up back in the 1990s. I could remember some of the scariest days of my life were during the month of October, as everything Halloween would begin, from scary movies on TV all day to our school being decorated for the season. Our teachers would read scary stories to us during reading time, and they would bring a whole bunch of new books into the library about spooky stories since all the kids were reading these books during this time. It was the day before Halloween. We used to dress up the night before and try on our costumes since we could all wear them to school. Looking back on pictures now, it's quite funny seeing how bad our costumes were back then. I was dressing up as Batman, while my sisters were dressed as Disney princess characters. My sisters, laughing, were putting makeup on my face using our mother's makeup kit, trying to make it look like Batman's face mask. We washed off all the makeup once they had finished and had to begin getting ready for bed. We ate dinner late since we had spent too much time preparing our costumes and hurried up into bed excited that Halloween was tomorrow. My grandparents didn't like Halloween as they didn't grow up in the United States and said it was just a day to celebrate witches and bad spirits. I didn't quite understand their thoughts since Halloween to us was more of an exciting day to dress up and get free candy door to door in our neighborhood. Even though my grandparents didn't like Halloween, they sure did enjoy eating the pillowcases full of chocolate we got from trick-or-treating every year. We used to take our pillowcases off our pillows and use these bags to trick-or-treat our neighborhood. We used to get around 10 pounds of candy after a night of trick-or-treating, so pillowcases would work perfect to throw the bag over your shoulder and head to the next house in the neighborhood. My parents told us to only go to the houses that have their porch lights on, and to avoid the house on Block 3. We already knew why they didn't want us going to Block 3, because there were known crazy people live in our neighborhood. This block took Halloween too serious and would roam the block with chainsaws all dressed up as clowns every year. They were known to steal kids' bags of candy while chasing them around, revving the chainsaw behind them. Some kids told us they wouldn't remove the chains off their chainsaw either, running around with a weapon that could potentially injure someone severely. This year, Block 3 seemed rather calm. We could see lots of trick-or-treaters walking up and down the area with pillowcases already halfway full of candy. Some kids began trick-or-treating before dark and had already gotten a head start on most of us as they went home to unload their candy and head back out for more. We couldn't recognize any of the kids or adults since everyone was in the Halloween spirit and had dressed up in costumes wearing masks. Some of the costumes freaked me out, and I switched to the other side of the road to avoid them walking near me. One of the houses was having a small haunted house maze. You could walk through their side gates and follow the wooden tunnel they made as you walked through their backyard through a maze of scare. You could hear people screaming in the back, and there was a line of people waiting to walk through next. We got in the back of the line and waited our turn to go through the maze. As we got near the front of the line, my heart slowly began racing. I could hear everyone getting scared in the back, and some people were running out the end area down the street from the fear. It was now our turn to begin the maze, and we walked slowly in a single file line, holding each other's shirts to make sure we don't get separated. The maze began with creepy Halloween music as we walked by a human body that was fake stuffed with hay. Slowly after entering, we see a sign above. It said Block 3. I freaked out as I hadn't noticed we ended up on Block 3, and now we're in the middle of a Halloween maze in a stranger's backyard. I could hear people in front screaming and even some people crying from the fright. We slowly inched forward when a huge clown jumped from the ceiling as he bounced up and down on a platform. He was attached to a bungee-like system that made it look like he was floating above us. That's when the door in front slammed open and a chainsaw began revving in our ears. It was a clown standing 6 feet tall in front of us, revving the chainsaw, slowly walking towards us. I instantly freaked out and tried to run backwards to get back out through the entrance. We were on Block 3 and I wasn't taking any chances. As I ran back towards the entrance, I ran into the crowd of people walking behind me as they were entering the maze. I ran past them and flew out the entrance, tripping on the floor of the exit, on my shoelace that had come untied. I heard the chainsaw revving, coming closer and closer. The clown decided to follow me since he saw how scared I got and ran away. I looked back and he stood above me with the creepiest clown face I've ever seen. He raised the chainsaw above his head and began holding down the gas and slowly moved down in a motion as if he was going to cut me in half. I jumped up so fast and sprinted past the front gates. I ran for the next few minutes, which felt like forever, as I could hear the clown behind me on the street, chasing behind me, still revving the chainsaw. I slowly gained distance between the clown with the chainsaw, dropping my bag of Halloween candy behind, and could see my house in the distance. I ran inside my house so fast as my heart was beating out of my chest. I know it's Halloween, but I never expected to be chased down the streets by someone in a clown suit. This was one of the scariest Halloween encounters I've had. I now avoid Block 3 every year.